All right, Jimmy Ott along with Paul Stone talking college football. Paul Stone, as the leaves are starting to turn, he's starting to heat up. 3-1 week, although a wild 3-1. And also, hey, a good job that we have Paul, and the day of the production is on Tuesday to get those line, because we got Notre Dame at 3.5. Went back to 3.5 on Friday for a little bit, then settled at 3. But we'll take that one. A little block, scoop, and score in Laramie and a 2-point conversion. Not bad for that one as well. So excellent. Paul now 9-7 on the season, 3-1 week last week. And Paul, let's get to a neutral site game in the SEC, Arkansas and Texas A&M. Boy, it seems like Arkansas has A&M down and out every year in this game. And they figure some way to kind of, let it squeeze out of their hands. It was KJ Jefferson up 7-0, reaching the ball over near the goal line that turned into a 99-yard scoop and score. 14-point swing, and they lose it at the end. So tough one for that one. So Arkansas, how about this against LSU? Fourth straight year that game is decided by 3 points. That LSU-Arkansas series is different. But they have to move the ball. They outgained BYU by 160 yards, and they had a bunch of yardage against LSU in that one that came down to the end. This one's at 6.5, A&M 6.5 against offensively challenged Auburn team. You're looking at the Arkansas Razorbacks here, Paul.
Yeah, I'll tell you, first of all, Jimmy, the Razorbacks, one of their top players, running back Raheem Rocket Sanders, one of the best running backs in the SEC, who rushed for over 1,400 yards last year. He practiced yesterday, so I think there's a good chance he's going to play for Arkansas after missing their last 3 games. So he's a critical part of that Arkansas offense. You look at them in any event, whether Sanders plays or not, Arkansas is a desperate football team. It's looking to avoid its 3rd straight loss, looking to avoid going 0-2 in SEC play. Razorback quarterback KJ Jefferson last week, he threw 2 interceptions in that competitive 34-31 loss at LSU. So he's going to be looking to make amends for that passing performance. I like the fact also that he's become more involved in the running game the last few weeks. He's run the ball at least 13 times in each of the Razorbacks' last 3 games. Now in his 4th season, something to look at here as well, head coach Sam Pittman for Arkansas, he's really embraced that underdog role. The Razorbacks 13-6 against the spread as an underdog under Sam Pittman. You look at Texas A&M, they're going to be starting lefty Max Johnson for the injured Connor Wegman. Really don't see any drop off there for the Aggies, though, in performance at the quarterback position. But I like the desperate team here, looking to avoid their 3rd straight loss, getting points. Take Arkansas plus 6.5 over Texas A&M.
I think Connor Wegman's been pretty good for A&M this year, but when he went down, I thought Johnson, who we know well, he provided a spark. I mean, he put some points on the board in a game that was kind of in the mud a little bit. So interesting there. Kind of a guy that had a chance to start at 2 different schools. It's been taken away from him now, and that played with a little urgency on Saturday against Auburn. That game seems to be always tight in a neutral site game down in Dallas. All right, let's move on to the Big Ten. And with everything coming, with so many pieces coming back, the Michigan Wolverines preseason favorite. And the other thing is that, especially on offense, where so many pieces, the offensive line, the 2 running backs, the quarterback, so many pieces. And historically, Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines have been a pretty big bully. They destroy some weaker competition. It has not been the case this year. Okay, maybe Harbaugh. Now he's back on the sideline against Rutgers. Still kind of the same thing as they pushed against the spread, but lacking those chunk plays and an offensive explosion. Michigan now 0-3 against the spread, now laying 17.5 against Nebraska with a modest 2-game winning streak against lesser competition.
Yeah, after dropping its first 2 games, Nebraska, they have rebounded with a pair of double-digit victories over Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech. Obviously not opponents to be confused with the likes of Michigan and other powerhouses in the Big Ten, but certainly represents some level of progress there for the Cornhuskers. Their first two games, their starting quarterback was Georgia Tech transfer Jeff Sims. Sims had turnover problems at Georgia Tech. Those problems have followed him to Nebraska. In those two starts, he committed a total of 6 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. He got hurt his ankle at Colorado against the Buffaloes. He's been out the last couple of games. Looks like he might be healthy for this game. But I think in any case, I think redshirt freshman Heinrich Harburg's going to be the starter. I think he's given them a spark at that quarterback position. He's been compared to Tim Tebow. He's a big 6'5", 210-pound guy. The last couple of weeks, he's rushed for over 255 yards total. He broke free for a 72-yard touchdown run against Louisiana Tech this past Saturday. And if you look at the film of that run, once he got in the open in the middle of the field, he was gone. So this guy's a legitimate running threat. Michigan, they play really slow tempo. They average only 58 plays a game. Their opponents only 55. So their games are averaging 113 plays a game, probably the lowest of any team in the country. That makes a difference when you're talking about taking an underdog of more than 2 touchdowns when the game is shortened. Nebraska 6-0-1 against the spread their last 7 as a double-digit underdog in Big Ten play. I think Nebraska needs to get to 14 points here against the Wolverines. I think they get there. I like Nebraska plus 17.5 over Michigan.
I think the matchup also with Nebraska's defensive personnel matches up pretty good against Michigan. So I think the yards are going to be really, really tough in this one. And the points will be tough to come by as well. Georgia State last Thursday night, a nice money line underdog winner in comfortable fashion against Coastal Carolina. Now they come back home and are laying 1 point against the Troy Trojans. Who are we looking at here, Paul?
I'll tell you, Georgia State off to an impressive 4-0 start after pulling the road upset at Coastal Carolina this past week. 30-17 is around a 5.5-point underdog. You know, Darren Granger, the quarterback for Georgia State, a veteran quarterback, one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the entire group of 5. He's a third-year starter. He's got a nice 44-11 touchdown to interception ratio. He's thrown for over 5,100 yards in his career, rushed for over 1,650 yards. So that shows his running dimension there. Then you look at Troy, the defending Sun Belt champion. They return a total of 12 starters this year. And in my opinion, the Trojans, they just hadn't quite looked like the same team this season compared to last. Obviously, it was a major step up in class, I believe, in week 2 when they traveled to Manhattan to play Kansas State. But they got throttled by Kansas State 42-13 in that game, narrowly defeated Western Kentucky at home 27-24. Last weekend, committed 3 turnovers in that game against the Hilltoppers. I just like Georgia State's current trajectory more than Troy's. I think they're going to win this game. I like Georgia State -1 over Troy in a key Sun Belt matchup.
All right, get extra value this football season with BetRivers Squares. You can win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. Brought to you by our friends over at BetRivers. That's 3 sides. You got a total in college football to close out this week's picks. We go to Chestnut Hill and Virginia taking on Boston College. Boston College, after the inspired effort in a near miss against Florida State, kind of got chewed up pretty good on the road last week. Now they come back home to host Virginia. Virginia with 3 personal fouls in the last minute of the game against in that close loss on Friday night against NC State. You're looking at the total, which is at 55.5, Paul.
Yeah, first of all, neither one of these second division ACC teams play particularly good defense. So that's certainly a large part of my basis for this selection on the over. You look at Virginia's defense, they're giving up 5.9 yards per play to date. Boston College, who opened with Northern Illinois, and then they played an FCS opponent after that, they've given up right at 6.5 yards per play. So neither defense very strong. Boston College, they like to play with a little pace. They're averaging right at 72 plays per game. So I'm projecting this game to have 140 plays, which is certainly above this year's NCAA average with the new clock rules that we have. Both teams feature exciting young quarterbacks. Boston College quarterback, if you hadn't seen him yet, talking to the listeners and viewers out there, Thomas Castellanos. a guy who started his career, I believe, at Central Florida. He's a transfer, but he's had some really nice wow moments to date as Boston College's first-year starting quarterback. He's thrown for 909 yards, rushed for 280 yards, leads Boston College in both those major statistical categories, but he's a big-time player. And then Virginia, their true freshman quarterback, Anthony Calandria, he's also had his moments. Both these guys are turnover prone. They've both committed some turnovers, as you might expect with the first-year starting quarterback. Hopefully those turnovers won't come at an untimely time for us over players in this game. But I just see points here. I see both teams scoring at least 28 points. So everything for me points to this game between Virginia and Boston College going over the total of 55.5.
Yeah, watch these quarterbacks a lot too, and no doubt the BC quarterback gave Florida State all they could handle. It's not a surprise because he's a true dual threat, like you talk about, leading the Eagles in rushing and passing. And yeah, the young freshman for Virginia, he was one of the ones with the personal foul, taking his helmet off after the 2-point conversion, allowing field position to set up the game-winning field goal for NC State at the end. So, and yeah, the kind of both gunslingers. They will make plays and they will make some mistakes. So lends itself to the over. I think it's a good angle. All right, Paul Stone is heating up. 3-1 last week. 4 more picks for you this week. He's at a location unknown with sirens going on in the background and everything else. Paul Stone, I'm Jimmy Ott here in the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.